Welcome, everybody. If you are tuning in today, you've likely seen our primer on the 8 challenges we typically see clients encounter with public infrastructure asset management. Or perhaps you saw our first webinar where we discussed how often clients' current level of spending doesn't meet their community's vision or goals for maintaining an optimal service level. Either way, welcome back, and we are excited you have joined us today for our second session in this 8-part series, where we're going to be focused on strategies for overcoming planning and funding obstacles in the utility and transportation asset management space. If you have not seen our primer yet, it is available for free download on the WithersRavenel website. For today's topic discussion, we are going to be diving into how it doesn't have to be laborious to model what-if scenarios. And joining me today to engage in this conversation, I have Eddie Staley and Rod Lovely from WithersRavenel. Rod recently joined Withers, but has been an industry ally and trusted partner in the asset management space for several years now. And we're so excited he finally decided to join Withers. So welcome, Rod. He brings a wealth of industry experience and in the trenches know-how from an asset management perspective. Currently, Rod serves as a senior technical advisor in our asset management space with key clients, where he is helping them plan for and solve complex asset investment challenges. And prior to joining Withers, Rod served as a principal in a couple other asset management focused firms. He has dedicated his career to asset management, and we are so grateful that he has decided to bring his leadership and expertise over here to Withers. Also with us today, I have Eddie Staley. Eddie's been with Withers for many, many years now. He is a long-term veteran and currently serves as the firm's Chief Innovation Officer. In this role, Eddie spearheads a variety of initiatives aimed at innovating and accelerating technologies and services that we provide to our clients, one of which happens to be asset management. So guys, thanks so much for joining me today. I'm excited y'all are with me. And for today's session, as I mentioned, we're going to dive into the importance of developing life cycle what-if scenarios when forecasting your infrastructure investment needs. So let's go ahead and dive in. Eddie, I'm going to start our discussion with a question for you. I think this is an important question because it'll help level set for those maybe who aren't familiar with the terminology what if a scenario. So let's start by asking, what is a what if scenario and how does it come into play with asset management?
Yes, that's a great question, Jessica. And really, when we're talking about what-if scenarios, just need to understand in a life cycle model for asset management, there are a lot of variables that come into play. And, those are what types of treatments, what type of improvement comes from that treatment. When is the right time to apply that treatment? What is the degradation curve? There's, a lot of variables. What is our funding strategy? And so what we're able to do is build different models using different assumptions in each one of those areas. And we're going to get different results based on that. And ultimately, what we can really try to do is understand what the results are going to tell us about those actions before we actually go commit those actions out in the world. And again, it's really nice when we're able to do that and do those kind of scenarios, or what if we had more funding, or what if things lasted maybe a little bit longer than we initially thought about. How does that really change the outcomes over a 15, 20, 30, even 50-year time period? And so being able to quickly make those changes, have different models that we can compare and contrast against each other, that's really when we can start to have a really deep and a really good conversation with our stakeholders about those assumptions and what are the right assumptions for our community.
That's great, Eddie. Thank you. So Rod, my second question is for you. When we talk about life cycle models, a life cycle model is supposed to be a similar representation of a system. However, there's a lot of different approaches that people use to create these models. Can you talk to us about some of the preferred approaches to life cycle modeling for infrastructure that exists today?
Sure, Jessica, that's a great question. So I want to start out and just emphasize that regardless of what model method that you use, that lifecycle modeling is really a core enabler in the practice of asset management. It's essential. It really encapsulates the whole picture of asset management. For a matter of fact, it's not a bad place for an organization to start, as it supports the 5 core components of asset management, which starts with inventory and goes into level of service, identifying criticality, and then lifecycle costing is another core element of asset management. And that's really where lifecycle modeling comes in. And we use it in order to determine our long-term funding strategy. So within that, when an organization takes on the task of developing a lifecycle model, you're actually addressing these other components of asset management. And what I like about it is that you're getting results much quicker than if you go through more of a formalized approach. It's not necessarily a right or a wrong, but in my experience, I found that organizations really benefit by starting lifecycle modeling. It introduces the concepts and the benefits of asset management as a whole. Now, getting back to your other question, yes, there are various ways that, and some better than others, but Excel is always a standby, especially among engineers. And there are definitely those who have produced lifecycle models in Excel. And even I have done something to that nature, but Excel does have its limitations. I'll never forget one time when I went in an organization to present some lifecycle modeling that I had built in Excel. And sure enough, at the last minute, I had to switch computers to a less powerful computer, and I was going through the presentation. Unfortunately, it just didn't do it. So there you go. Excel, it's a great prototyping tool and you can use it, but when it really comes time to the application as it's used in your organization, what we recommend is going with an off-the-shelf product. And there are many out there that we can speak to, and we would be happy to engage with anybody out in the audience to review some of those choices. But when it comes down to making decisions that really affect the direction of your organization, then we recommend going with one of these off-the-shelf products. And what we've experienced with more mature organizations who are implementing these products, it almost works, well, it does work as a component of a digital twin, where a digital twin encompasses many features, but part of that digital twin is the deterioration of your infrastructure. How does it deteriorate? That we're modeling that deterioration, and then we're initiating treatments against that deterioration. So essentially, we're modeling the future performance of that infrastructure, and it fits within that digital twin framework. So anybody who's interested in a digital twin type of solution, lifecycle modeling fits right into that category.
It's really fascinating, Rod. And, getting back to your first point, I heard something interesting the other day that, data really gives you the facts, but modeling through and the use of the dashboards that these modeling tools really tend to leverage these days, that really tells you a story. And that story is what you need when you're trying to, help people understand this really complex task that's at hand, and especially as you go through these various what if scenarios and compare them side by side, that gets really lost in the data. But using these models and the dashboards, that it certainly tells a much easier story that people are able to understand. So Eddie, I know with your background in GIS, you're super passionate about it. We're never going to be able to get that one out of you, but tell me how these modeling platforms integrate with GIS and why that's really so important.
Yeah, I think you and Rod just both touched on it. GIS is often that digital twin that we look to as the single source of truth. It's where all that data is housed. If it's not housed in there, it is the nucleus that everything else is attached to through a CMMS or through your financial software. So being able to use that as the single source of truth is really important inside the modeling. And again, most of these off-the-shelf products directly attached to the GIS, so it's always getting that latest data. The other power of GIS, the real reason why we all use it, and as you said, why I'm so passionate about it, it does help tell the story so well. Again, when we can see the results back on a map, we can see the individual assets as they go through their life cycle, how they're changing color through time-enabled feature classes. That's really when we can really take that immense amount of data and really turn that into decision-making information and really distill it down to something that, that ultimately everybody can consume without having to be an engineer or a GIS person, right? We can all look at it and go, green is good, red is bad, orange is somewhere in the middle. And so again, it just really helps tell that story. And then two, when those results are run back from the model, they're connecting right back to GIS. So it creates basically this circular pattern of data that's constantly feeding itself and actually helping you to continue to calibrate and refine that model as time goes forward. And so that's really why we like to see that integration with GIS. And really, again, you mentioned it, the visualization side of that, connecting that with things like Power BI, some of the dashboards that are out there, and the Esri plugins that tie into those dashboards. Again, the environment that we can work in is very, very rich.
Thanks for that, Eddie. All right, I know we just have a few more minutes left for our session today, but I have one last question. I know here at Withers, we work with a myriad of different modeling tools to, support a wide variety of client needs, but would you guys just mind talking through a couple of the more well-known tools that are in the industry? And, if there are tools that are specific for purpose, can you highlight those as well? I just think it'll help people to understand where to start if they don't currently have a modeling tool. This will at least give them some names of popular tools to go research, and especially if they have a particular problem that they're trying to take a look at.
Sure, I can start off there, and I'm sure Rod has a lot to add here. But again, first thing we have to have is an asset register. And again, I tend to go back to Esri on that. You can certainly pull from other systems that are out there, CMMSs, maybe. You've got your data stored in Cartograph or in CityWorks, and that's your asset register. Certainly okay to be able to use those. When you're looking at specific lifecycle modeling software, a couple that come to mind, Capital Predictor, Asset Optimizer by IDS. Rod, I know you've worked with a lot of other different tools that are out there that are specific. I think about Agile Assets as it pertains to pavement. So what are some other ones you've encountered as well, Rod?
Sure. So there's just different classifications of tools that bring a variety of different insights into the life cycle model or the life cycle of assets. And you mentioned a couple of what I consider the premier software applications for this purpose. I think Capital Predictor and Asset Optimizer, they're asset agnostic. So you can do any type of infrastructure with those tools. Now, then you get into specific tools, like you mentioned, Agile Assets, that really is strong in the transportation space, particularly with bridges and pavement. But then there are other tools that work in the pavement industry as well, such as Paver, Street Saver, and there are a number of others. And then there are tools that work within EAM solutions, that's Enterprise Asset Management. Commonly, these are the tools that produce work orders and help folks manage their maintenance activities. But we're seeing a shift in these tools to encompass some of this life cycle modeling type of delivery, such as Cartograph and ViewWorks are two that I know of. There may be others. Certainly, some of the popular ones out there like Maximo and Infor, perhaps targeted at larger organizations. People are working with those to produce similar types of results. And then in the water space, We have, for water systems, particularly an interesting product has come on the market within the last few years called Fracta, which uses AI in order to predict where breaks will occur and plan improvements around that. And then Innovize, which works in the water and wastewater industry with Info Asset Planner. I'm not sure it's quite a full lifecycle modeling tool, but it does allow you to produce a decision tree, and it does risk really well. So it's a good tool, I think, within that 5-year planning horizon. And you know, anybody who's watching this video, if there's other tools out there, we'd like to hear from you and learn about those as well. But those are the major ones that we're aware of at this point in time.
That's great, Rod. Thank you. I think that's really helpful information. I know certainly when you just go do a Google search, you're going to get inundated with a lot of information on asset management tools. And I know Eddie and Rod, you've both been quick to say, you know, don't confuse a CMMS with a modeling tool. And there really is a difference. And some are great and some are not so great. So if you get out there and start doing your research and you're overwhelmed or not sure really where to start, feel free to reach out. We work with a variety of platforms, and we're happy to work with you to find a couple of options that meet your specific industry or asset class need, as well as fit your budget, because they come with a wide range of entry point costs. So. Guys, it's been great today. I really appreciate our time together, and want to say thank you for everybody who joined us. And I encourage you to join us next time, where we're going to focus on asset management plans that don't consider common corridor assets. So that'll be our 4th series of our 8-part session. So for a replay of this session or the previous 2 sessions, you can find all the information plus the materials that we shared on our website under the news section. So if you just go to WithersRavenel.com and then navigate to the news section, you'll find everything there. We'll also make these materials available on our LinkedIn and the video on YouTube. So if you have any questions and you need to reach out to us directly, you can do so at info at WithersRavenel.com, and that information comes over to our sales and marketing department, and we'll get it pointed to one of these guys so that they can get back in touch with you. So thanks, guys, and everybody have a great day.